Yeah. Oh, prior warning, I've been trying to get a FedEx package picked up for like a week, and they're supposed to come today, so she'll probably start screaming at them. I might mute myself for a bit if that happens, but yeah, that's what's going on. I don't have a huge spiel today. Just that kind of going around and walking around neighborhoods and stuff this time of year, I think it's very pleasant for a lot of us because we just get to look at everybody's decorations and lights. And there's just such this beautiful, simple joy in Christmas lights, holiday lights, any of that stuff. There's just something about it that really just touches this tender place in so many of us, and it's such a small thing. Like literally, these little lights are such small things that they can have such a radiant, warm impact deep within us. And most of our most intense joy or our deepest joy comes from these very small and simple things. And just kind of a nice idea or concept with which to set an intention in finding simple joy in our practice in every little moment. Go ahead and take your index finger and your thumb together and the base of your thumb, bringing that into the center of your forehead, brushing outwards towards the temples. And then moving from the sides of the nose out to your temples, along your cheekbones. Moving from the temples down to your chin on your jawline. Going from the sides of your nose down to your chin on your laugh lines. Feeling the soft spot behind your ears and giving yourself a massage. Taking a moment to enjoy that little massage, this contact that we make with ourselves. And then lifting up from the bony spots, feeling a little bit more space in the torso. We'll be doing a lot of work for lengthening the spine, lifting up with a strong core into some good heart opening today. And as you're ready, rest your hands down into your lap. One more little morsel of food for thought as we settle into our breath. We often steal joy from ourselves by wanting things to be more complicated and deep than they are. By overthinking and over-criticizing, we are not here in this present moment. And that yama, asteya, not stealing, we violate that in denying ourselves the simple pleasure of being here now. Allow yourself to dive into awareness, into your breath, into your body as we continue through this practice today. And take another deep breath in through your nose. And big exhale through the mouth. Again, like that. For 3 ohms. And then we'll come out into heart melting pose or puppy dog pose to start off practice. So if you want to put anything to cushion the knees, by all means, maybe coming onto whatever you've been sitting on or roll up a blanket or towel. And then extending your hands out in front of you as long as you can comfortably do. Don't go too wild right at the beginning, but find a place to rest your head. Maybe you do grab something and place it underneath your forehead so it's a little bit easier for your head to reach down to the mat. And you'll let your heart gently soften down towards the floor. And if you can find this little fine tuning in your pelvis, let your tailbone continuously float up away from the floor, which is probably going to help with the heart melting down. And then take another couple of breaths. And then keeping the hips roughly in the same place, don't try to crawl yourself forward. Maybe it's just the fingertips that start to wiggle forward a little bit. If there's any more room to lengthen out through the spine, the arms, and then once again, reminding your heart that it has this freedom to melt down towards the floor. One more breath like this. And then start to pull your hands back towards you, lifting up towards table pose. Curl your toes underneath and keep your hands where they are. Press your hips back as far as you can. Now, if this feels okay, maybe you start to walk your hips a little bit further forward, but you want to keep your hips as far back as you can. So maybe even push into your hands, getting a little bit more stretch back in your hips. One more breath out. And start to lift yourself up, untuck your toes, give yourself a little drum roll on the tops of your feet. And let that go. Taking your right leg back behind you with the toes on the ground and the heel pressing back, stretching through your calf. Maybe give yourself a couple of bounces back and forth here, working out the ankle and the heel. And then start to slide your right foot over across the body. So you're going to move it over towards the left. And your right hand goes a little bit further forward. And then you're going to push down into your right hand as your right hip pulls back away from your armpit. You can let your head rest down. Maybe your left arm bends a little bit to let this deepen. One more breath in. Deep breath out. And start to release your right knee back down, pull your right hand back in and take the left heel back behind you. So the heel presses back, toes are on the ground, and then give a gentle rocking back and forth. So you're kind of pushing the heel back and then leaning forward and back and forth. Then taking your left foot across the body, so you're going to drag it over towards the left to the right side. And then your left hand goes a little bit further forward on your mat space. And as you push into that hand, feeling the sides of your ribs stretching, and then the hip pulling back, so you feel the whole side of the torso opening, let your head rest down. Maybe your right arm bends a bit. Taking another breath like this. And sliding your left hand back, bringing your left foot back or your knee back. And then you're going to kind of sit down on your left hip. I won't be mirroring you here. Or you can mirror me, it doesn't matter. We'll talk about the top leg and the bottom leg. You're going to take the top leg and then tuck it up so that you have the sole of the foot on the floor and the knee faces up. And you might have the foot a little bit further away. Maybe it's more down there by your other foot. But however much you can get it up here, it'll get a little bit more hip work, so it's all up to you. What we want to focus on is this bottom side of the torso. So you're going to go ahead and relax into your shoulder, even though usually we don't want to do that. Resting the low ribs down, feeling a stretch on the side of your belly. And then if you're not feeling a stretch on the side of your belly, your hip might be too far back. So you might have to move the foot to stack the hips a little bit more. We're creating a lot of space on this side body. You can feel these obliques getting a little bit more work. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Now, go ahead and take your other hand that's on the floor, go ahead and bring it to the side of your ribs, and you're gonna lift up and away from the floor. And now you'll probably feel a lot more here on that hip. That's okay. You might move the foot. You can take the hand away, reach up into space. Can you pull these bottom ribs up to that top hand? And then relax. Go ahead and slide yourself down. You're going to rest your head on your hand and take this top leg up. Go ahead and hold back behind your thigh. You can tuck your knee as far up towards your armpit or your shoulder as is comfortable for you to do. One more full round of breath. And then release your top leg. You want to hold on to the top of your foot. So you're going to turn your knees down towards each other. And you might grab onto your pant leg or just let the foot stay on the floor so that you can stretch or massage the front of this thigh. And then slide down and rest on your bottom arm so you no longer have the head underneath the hand. You're a little bit more in one line here. If you'd like to focus on the stretch to your top quad, just go ahead and relax that bottom leg. If you want to make things a little bit more interesting, you can extend through those bottom toes. Maybe as you make that bottom leg a little bit straighter, you might feel these obliques right here kind of lifting gently away from the floor. Even if your belly's still touching the floor, even if your torso still is, you can feel that little bit of like floating sensation of those muscles inside of your torso. One more exhale. And then gently release that foot. You're going to roll over onto your belly, snuggle your hands in by your low ribs, lift up little cobra pose. And then exhale, soften down. Go ahead and push yourself up to a seat. You're going to sit over on the other hip. So I'm just going to move so I'm still facing you for clear reasons. So just take the other leg and put it on top. So whatever you were doing before, just do the other side. Other leg, bring this foot to a place that is reasonably comfortable for your hips. You want to be able to somewhat stack the hips so they're both facing forward. And we'll start by resting down into the shoulder a bit. Now, not so much that this hurts, but we want to focus more on letting these ribs drop down at this point. So we're really stretching this side body. And then use your hand to take this to the side of the ribs, and then you're going to pull the side of the ribs up. You see my foot moved. It's just needed to. Like, nope, not the right spot. Need to get out of there. And now you're using your abdominals to pull these ribs up and away from the floor. Maybe even reach this arm up. Feel your bottom ribs pulling up towards that top hand. And then rest it down. We're going to slide down so that you're resting on your upper arm, head in your hand, top leg comes up, reach back and grab behind the knee so you can get this nice deep flexion in your hip. Hold it on, drawing it into the belly. If you don't feel a lot, take your cheek of this top leg and reach it down to the bottom foot. Kind of rolling that leg bone in the hip socket. One more breath. Go ahead and release yourself down. You're going to lay on your arm now. Reach back and catch your foot. And again, this could just be back behind you so that you're opening up the front of the hip. Maybe massage your thigh or grab your pant leg or your foot. Oh my gosh, this quad is so tight today. And then your bottom leg is gonna stay relaxed, so you're a little bit more balanced, you're a little bit more relaxed and focusing on the stretch. But if you wanted to make things a little bit more intense, challenge your breath and your balance, you can extend that bottom leg out long. Maybe extending that bottom leg makes you feel a little bit more lifted in those obliques and the side of your belly that's closer towards the floor. One more breath in, breathing out. And gently release that leg that's bent. You're gonna roll over onto your belly and then take your hands in by your low ribs again. We'll come up into cobra pose. Just nice and low, nothing wild. Just notice what kind of space is available to you. Try to relax your collarbones so your heart is open, and then take one more inhale. Maybe you lift a little bit more in the heart, and then exhale, soften it down. So you're gonna take your left hand and slide it out from your side, palm facing down. Right hand stays underneath the right shoulder. Look to the right, and then roll your right leg back behind you. If it feels okay in your body, get long and powerful through that right leg. The leg that's lifting up and extending back, you can feel your obliques, that side of your abdominal wall, the front openness of your hip, long, strong back leg, and then try to relax your neck and shoulder muscles that might be tighter from having this strong work. One more breath in. And then exhale, roll yourself back onto your belly and switch sides. So you'll take your right hand out, tuck the left hand in, and look over towards the left. And then as you roll that left leg back, you're gonna keep the toes extending, strong behind you, long through that leg, long and strong. Still getting a nice stretch to the front of the right shoulder. One more breath in. And then rolling over onto your belly, bring the hands in by your low ribs and come up one more time. Cobra pose, long through the belly, open through the heart. One more inhale. And exhale, soften down. And press yourself up. Go ahead and roll over onto your back. Bend into the knees, place the soles of the feet down on the floor. Make sure there's lots of room back behind you so that you could extend your arms back all the way. And then take your hands up above your face, interlace your fingers, but let your index fingers point up. And you're going to start to wrap your low ribs down towards the floor. Keep the low ribs wrapped in towards the floor. And on your next inhale, you're going to reach your fingers towards the wall behind you. So not necessarily towards the floor, but towards the wall. And then exhale, back up above your face. Inhale, reach those fingers to the wall behind you. Exhale, lift it back up. And you can keep going like this, or press the palms outwards, and you might be able to get a little bit further. Inhaling to reach the palms back. Exhale, take it up. Can you keep the low ribs drawn in towards your belly so you're not getting a crazy back bend? Maybe you've got about 2 more. Maybe you have had enough of this. Remember, it doesn't matter how close to the floor your hands get. And then release your arms down. Go ahead and open them out to the sides. And just take a leisurely rocking of your knees side to side. Just letting your legs drop over to one side and the other side. Maybe moving with your breath, maybe taking a breath or two to pause in either place. Noticing how this impacts the torso, how your shoulders feel about this movement. Notice where the tension comes in. Give that tension permission to relax. And then go ahead and finish up those rounds. Come back towards the center. You're going to bring your knees into your chest, rock yourself up to a seat, and then take your body into, so you've got your feet folded over towards the left side and your knees are over towards the right. We're going to come into swan pose, coming forward over the right shin. Sometimes sliding that left leg back a little bit more is going to give you a little bit more space. So here I would be mirroring you. Much like when you were tucking that thigh bone in towards your torso, we're just folding in and stretching the outside of this hip. One more breath in. Big breath out. And start walking your hands back towards you. This leg, if you open it up a bunch, take it back in so you have more of this squared sort of shape without having your left foot in close to your hip. You want that distance. And then you're going to twist over towards the right side. Just take a breath in. Soften your belly as you exhale. And release the twist, going over towards the left. Breathe in. Breathe out. And release that twist. This time you're going to go ahead and walk it back with your hands behind you. Now, as usual, you want to leave the knee down and let the hip lift up. If anything lifts up, you might go down onto forearms. If you would like to try to rest all the way down onto your back, you could even let this hip lift up a little bit more. I'm going to slide over a little bit more towards the right side, but of course staying up on forearms or not even going down to both forearms is a good option if that feels more of where your body should be. Spend about 3 more breaths, letting the front of that quad open up. And then from here, taking your left hand over, giving yourself a little walk up. And then switching the legs so that your feet are over towards the right and your knees are over towards the left. And then as you take yourself over your left shin, you might move the right leg back even more so that you can get a little bit more space, a bit more room in your hips to come forward over this left leg. About 2 more breaths. And start walking your hands back up, lifting your torso up. If you open this back leg, you're going to tuck it back in, keep some space between the foot and the hip, and then draw your body backwards so you can maybe lift this hip up a little bit to get the stretch. Maybe there's an elbow or 2 elbows that you come down to. Finding softness in your breath. About 2 more full breaths. And taking your right hand over, giving yourself a little walk up to a seat. We'll take a little twist over towards the left side, just a full breath. And then a twist over towards the right side, just moving in the other direction. Take a breath in. Stay there as you breathe out. And then start to unwind yourself. You're going to take your legs back behind you, come into table pose. Feel free to be on fingertips, and that would be better for you than the wrists. If you do have your hands down, make sure your fingers are spread out wide. And then take a few cat and cow, inhaling, dropping the belly, looking up, and exhale, rounding through the spine. Moving a few times to get your spine even more warmed up, even more mobile. Feel free to go side to side or take any other movements that are calling for you in this flow. Take 3 more breaths of whatever you're doing. Make sure to even yourself out if you need. And then once you finish those 3 breaths, you'll return towards a more neutral spine. Push down strong into your hands, feeling that strong space across your wing muscles. Curl the toes under and come into downward facing dog. Focusing on the length in your torso here, using that strong midsection to float your hips up higher. Take another exhale, and then bring your feet to your hands to your feet. Keep your knees bent, slowly roll yourself up to standing. And then taking your left foot back behind your right, the legs crossed, reach up and hold on to your left arm and side bend over towards the right. If you can, try to push in a little bit more in your back foot. And as you do, feel this side lengthening, this strong midsection and torso. One more exhale. Come on up, release your arms, and then uncross and recross your legs in the other direction. I'm reaching up and catching hold of your right wrist as you take that up and over and push more into your back foot. So you feel this getting stronger and more spacious. Still strong in both feet, especially that back foot. One more exhale. And lifting yourself up, releasing your arms down, unwinding your legs. And taking your feet out pretty wide. Coming to warrior 2 over to the right side, right toes over, left toes over, bend the right leg, and then come down, opening the arms. Think of your upper butt that might be kind of floating up behind you. Relax it down so that you're long across the back. And then keeping the hips right underneath you as they are, take the right elbow down and reach the left arm up and over. You can think of reaching your tailbone down towards your back foot and then push into your back foot. And from your belly, reach out through those left fingertips. One more breath in. Big breath out. Draw your belly in, come back to warrior 2. And then we'll lift the heart up to the right fingertips, finding peaceful warrior, finding this lift all the way through this space, through that side space. And one more breath in. And then release your arms down. One more shape with the leg bent. I know it's a lot. Give yourself a break if you need. We're going to pivot the back heel up, coming into a lunge, facing over towards that front now right leg. See if you can use that strong spine to lift those fingertips up a little bit higher. One more breath in. And then release the arms down. Go ahead and open yourself back up, wide legs. And then we'll start shifting over to warrior 2 on the other side. So left toes go over, right toes come over, bend into that left leg, take your arms out. You can even use your fingertips to guide you to drop that upper butt down, lengthening the lower back. And then keeping the hips underneath you, not letting them slide back there, right underneath, reach forward. Take the left arm down and reach the right arm over. Release the tailbone down to your back foot, push into the back foot, reach out through that top arm. And one more breath in. Big breath out. And draw your belly in, come up to warrior two. Continuing up higher into peaceful warrior, just letting this right hand soften down, lifting the heart up towards your left fingertips. One more breath in. And exhale, release the arms. We're gonna pivot, lift the back heel up so that your hips and shoulders are gonna start to square in the same direction as your left knee. Here, coming into a lunge, lifting up strong belly up to those fingertips. Excellent, one more breath in. And then release yourself down, unwind, come out wide legs. Take all 10 toes to face forward and then come down into a fold. Feel free to bend your knees as much as you need. Be real soft with yourself here. Haven't done a lot of hamstring work. This is just for release of the back. Release of the backs of the legs. One more breath in. Breathe out. Start to take your hands up to your thighs and lift yourself all the way up to standing. And then bring your feet in underneath you. And do a little bit of footwork. Stand on one leg, take the other foot back behind you. Try to keep the fronts of your hips lifted. We're just gonna lower the back heel and lift the back heel. What I wanna try not to do is tilt the hips forward and back. I wanna try to keep them lifted up. If it feels good to you, that's interesting, you can roll over onto the top of your foot and back and try to keep the fronts of your hips lifted. So we're training this engagement and lift through the torso, but of course leaving your toes on the normal side of your foot is fine. And then you'll take both feet back up and then go to the other side. So you're gonna take, keeping the fronts of your hips lifted, the toes back behind you, and then you can lower your heel and lift your heel. Just really roll through the bones in the foot, especially if you're coming up onto the toenail side of your foot and rolling all the way over. Just keep this front space lifted. And then starting to wrap that up, go ahead and take both feet and bring them in. Take your feet a little bit wider than your normal stance, a little bit wider than your hips. Take your arms behind your back. You can interlace the fingers and leave them at the small of your back. You can extend the arms and take them out wider if that feels good to you. But I've been getting a lot more deep front of shoulder opening by leaving the elbows bent and pulling them back here behind you. Let your knees be soft. Let your hips move back, and then take your heart forward. You might only go about halfway. If you do go down more, make sure that you readjust, that your shoulders open up more. You want to send the heart forward and tuck those elbows back. Good. One more breath in. Big breath out. Draw your belly in, stand yourself up. Now feel the fronts of your hips lifting up as your hips move forward. And then you're going to lift your heart up. You might leave the hands at your lower back if that feels like it's going to be more of a protection against your spine, or if it just feels better and a little bit easier to breathe here, by all means. But what you might do now is to extend those arms and let the knuckles pull back as the heart lifts up and forward. More of the weight in my feet is in my toes. Big breath in. And then exhale, release that bind back towards a more neutral spine. Wiggle out anything that feels a bit odd. And then take your left arm and reach it out to your side. Relax your right ear towards your right shoulder. You might slowly turn the palm to face back and then forward. Just kind of strumming those muscles in the side of the neck. Take another breath like this. And then relax that arm, taking your head up. And then reach your right arm out to the right. Drop your left ear over towards the left shoulder. And you keep reaching out through the arm. Maybe you turn your palm forward and back. Continuing your steady, smooth breath. Relaxing the arm, lifting your head up. So big standing balance today is going to be dancer's pose. So if you want to grab something to hold onto your foot or use your pant leg or let the whole fake it till we make it thing, by all means, go ahead for that. You might come closer to a wall. You're going to take one foot up, stand on the other leg, put same hand on the same hip, and then lift your hip up and forward. So we're already training this lifting and extending through the front body. Then you can grab whatever you need, kick the foot back, and then still feel this lift here. Now, I'm going to lift the heart up into the front of the ribs. And then if you're going to push into this back foot, go ahead and push into the foot so that you take this shoulder a little bit more open. Maybe the foot starts to kick up. And what you want to try not to do is fall into this leg. You want to lift up and out of that hip. And I'm trying to keep my hip steady. And maybe you reach the arm out in front of you. Maybe one more breath in. And then release that foot. Give yourself a little wiggle side to side. A little shit directly from the side this time. So you want to give yourself this little cue, lift the front of the hips and the front of the torso, reach back and catch the foot. I like to catch the inside of the foot in dancer's pose. That way we can try to keep both knees down. And then you might push the foot back. You might reach the arm forward. But think of lifting up through this midsection so you're stronger at your center and then more expansive elsewhere. Yeah. Still breathing. And one more breath in. And then release slowly the leg, the foot, wiggle things out a little bit. Then you're gonna come down to take a seat. I'm gonna sit in a squat. You can squat on your feet if you would prefer, or you can take your feet out a little bit wider, knees on the inside, or elbows on the insides of your knees, hands at your heart. There's a little bit of gentle pressure to open up the lower back. One more breath in, breath out. And then release your elbows from the insides of your knees. If you were in a squat on your feet, come down onto your seat, take your legs out as wide as they will comfortably go. So it doesn't have to be until your inner thighs are feeling all stretched out and wobbly, but nice and wide. And then you're going to take either your fingertips down by your sides to support a lift through the backs of your ears, or your fingertips are going to reach up into the sky. So it's from the center space that's reaching you out longer. Yeah. Finding your breath. Do one more breath in. And then drawing those hands down, relax your toes, wiggle the shoulders out a bit. I'm going to come into fish pose, and we often take this down towards the end of class as one of our winding down back bends, and I want to do it a little bit earlier or we're still a little bit more warmed up, because I want to offer the opportunity to make it just a little bit more zesty of a posture today. So oftentimes in fish pose, where we stop is just with the elbows down and then the heart's lifted and we get this back bend. But there's more. If your neck and shoulders are okay with it, is that you can create a little bit more of this expansive spine by letting the head drop back more. Now, depending on how good your neck and shoulders feel, it is possible to get the crown of the head down onto the floor, but this is not putting weight into my neck. So if you feel like you're going to put weight in your neck or you're not really sure about it, just stay back here.
And then instead of having elbows directly on your shoulders, you might scooch the elbows a little bit more towards your hips. So it's a little bit more in your spine and your core strength lifting up towards your heart. And then you're going to open those collarbones. Yep, a little bit extra. And then soften your heart, bring the head back up on your spine. If you want to give that another breath or another chance at kind of working through that, maybe having knees bent would be better, maybe having legs straight if your knees are bent would be better. But give that another little oomph on your own, and you might want to think of as this fish pose, can you be the fish that's being hooked up by a fisherman right through the heart? Yeah. And when you're done, go ahead and rest that heart down. And slide down onto your back. Just give yourself a nice long stretch here, reaching the toes up in front of you, the arms back behind you. Breath in. And relax your arms, your shoulders as you breathe out. Snuggling the heels in close to the hips. We'll come up into bridge pose. Wiggle the shoulders underneath the heart. Press the hips up. Maybe you hold hands underneath your hips. Maybe you wiggle your shoulders in closer, strong feet. Open in the fronts of the thighs. Maybe that fisherman has hooked your heart once more and you feel it floating up to the fronts of your ribs. And then relax your shoulders. Lower those hips down. Walk your feet a little bit wider, knock your knees against each other. Let your heart rate come back down. Intense back bends can be very invigorating in the body and the pulse. And start to bring your knees up towards your chest, cross your ankles, reach outside of the arms to grab the legs somewhere that makes sense. Maybe ankles, maybe more like shins or knees. And rock around a bit if that feels nice to you. And then switch the cross of your ankles. And then uncross your ankles. You're going to come up to a seat. You can roll to your side or wrap yourself up. And then take your legs out wide again. Starting to walk yourself forward or leave the hands back behind you, supporting a long spine more in the middle. So it's up to you how far you want to come forward, where you feel like you were able to recover your breath, and just relax the backs of the legs and the back of your torso. And so if you've walked forward, you might try to stay about that far forward and of course adapt as your body needs. You have to walk your hands over towards the right leg. If you've had the hands back here, maybe you just turn yourself over to the right leg. No matter how far the rest of your torso has gone, can you just relax your heart a little bit further forward? And then start to walk it over towards the left leg. Resting your heart. One more exhale. And then coming back into the center. This time you're going to fold your left leg in, slide the right hand down, and reach up and over through that left side. And now on this side bend, can you turn your heart up a little bit more? So you've got this, yes, side bending, but also heart lifting. Exhaling. And then lift yourself up. I'm going to place the hand about a foot or so away from the hip. You can stay here and just reach up through this side, or move into stargazer and revolve the heart up towards the ceiling so you feel all of the same kind of lengthening we've worked through. Just a quick visit, replacing the hips down and then sliding the legs out in the other direction. And so you're going to reach your left hand down and take that right arm up and over. And think about spiraling the heart a little bit more skyward. It's a very small amount of change that actually happens. Finish your exhale and lift yourself up. Hand is about a foot or so away from the hip. You stay here lifting the heart, or move up onto the shin, lifting the hips up strong in the bottom arm. Heart spirals upwards, and then hips replace themselves back down. And take your legs out a little bit wider again. Just come forward in a way that is comfy to you. Let's fold here to relax the lower back, not to put the nose on the floor unless that would be really comfortable to you. Big breath in. Big breath out. And then start to walk yourself back up and come down onto our backs, knees bent, body rests down on the floor. In fact, let the knees knock against each other for a moment, just letting your back muscles relax into the floor beneath you. Leaving your left leg bent, left foot down, just go ahead and tuck your right knee in, holding on to that leg somewhere that feels good to you. Maybe you do decide to wiggle those left toes out in front of you more after a bit. Maybe it goes out a lot. And keep holding on to your right leg with your left hand. You're going to guide it across the body into this twist. Take the right arm and open it out to the right side. Letting the right collarbone relax, the belly softens. And then relax your twist, come back to the center, set the soles of both feet down again. And take your left knee and hold it in towards you. Taking a couple of breaths in this space. As you're ready, maybe you do start to wiggle those right toes just a couple of inches forward or a lot of inches forward, or the leg goes straight. It doesn't matter which of any of those that it is. One more breath. And using the right hand to guide the leg across the body into a twist, taking the left arm out, relaxing across the front of the chest, softening the belly.
One more exhale. Coming back to your back. Tuck both knees in. Give yourself a little squeeze. And then one more twist in each direction. Nice and gentle, knees folded over. Open your arms. Take some time here to survey your body, checking in with any points of resistance. Is it something that you can just cognitively relax, or maybe does it take a little adjustment in the body and then adjust the body? About 2 more breaths. And then start to roll yourself into a similar feeling twist on the other side. Taking a moment to relax the opposite shoulder, softening your belly, taking that glance over the body, saying, okay, what can I just soften? What do I need to adjust or move? Include the eyebrows in that survey that you make of things that you might be able to soften. Two more breaths. And unwinding yourself back to the center. Take a moment to pause and check in. See if there's any other poses or movements that would feel good in your body. If there's maybe any way that you'd like to set yourself up for a really sweet Shavasana. And starting to move into that space, whatever sort of shapes or movements you've chosen. Of course, a seated meditation is always available. Legs up against the wall or feet resting up on the couch, whatever's calling to you. And once you do arrive, whenever you get there, give yourself the gift of this simple joy, this few minutes of softness, of rest, of breath. Start to come back to your breath. When you can, take a nice full inhale through your nose, nice and slow, savoring it. And then enjoy the release as you exhale, savoring that too. Can be something so very soothing about this deep awareness and investment in the breath. A joy in something even this simple. As you roll yourself over to one side, giving yourself permission to find joy in those moments, to seek joy in these moments. Giving gratitude for this practice. And eventually finding your own version of a comfortable seat. Coming to a place that is easy for you to rest, perhaps easy for you to bring your hands into your heart. Sealing this practice, releasing an Om together. Big breath in. Bowing down to the love and light within each of our hearts. Namaste. Thanks, everyone. Quick reminder, I will not be here next week.
But we have plenty of weeks that you've left us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But we'll miss you.
I hope you get to do something fun.
Should be good. Yeah, I'm excited. But I'll be
Oh,
back
good.
all the way through the rest of the year, of course, and ongoing because this is awesome.
Thank you, April.
Thank you, April.
Thank you so much.
Be good.
See you soon.
Toodles.
Bye.